Alright, so what if I told you that we subconsciously conflate empathy with agreement, where empathy is defined within the framework of emotional intelligence as being able to understand another person's position, how they were feeling, how they were thinking, how their experiences shaped whatever outcome or action they decided to take, or any which way they think. So essentially being able to put yourselves in the people's shoes or in another person's shoes. And where agreement is more or less an act or a gesture of support or endorsement for what someone does. As people of faith, there are things that the faith expressly warns against. And unfortunately, in our pursuit of being more open minded and being not being seen as insensitive, we unfortunately have a situation where people are empathetic in that yes, they understand other people's positions, they're able to put themselves in other people's shoes. But it ends there. The model of Jesus was never to just understand another person's position and just go away. No. Understand their position, make your position known, or your faith's position known. And it does not mean you hate the person, it does not mean that you look down upon the person. Empathizing is just being able to put yourself in the person's shoes. I am not saying that being empathetic may not lead to agreement, but there are things, especially sensitive subjects like homosexuality, abortion, that are expressly that the faith is expressly against. And because the narrative is they are minority and all that, we cower in making our faith position on the issue known, while letting people know that we understand where they are coming from. We understand why they have those tendencies and the kind of experiences that shape those tendencies. And but it does not just end at letting them understand that we understand them. It's letting them understand that we understand them. However, we don't agree. Unfortunately, we are in a situation where we empathize, but we end there. And as such, the silence in expressing the faith's position on these issues is a loud support or endorsement in the eyes of those that we should be speaking to, the faith's position to, and not just trying to understand where they are coming from. It's a loud endorsement to them that it's okay, we can do what we want to do. Because this is the case, we a lot of us are afraid to expressly state our position on the issue based on our faith's position on the issue. It's setting a very dangerous precedent because what it shows is that there is a progressive suppression of faith based positions on issues. And what that does is that it makes you ineffective as a Christian, for instance. Because if the faith position is that this abortion is wrong, or is sinful, is inhumane, is immoral, but saying that after letting people understand that yes, we understand that the situation that led to the pregnancy was egregious, or that your financial situation cannot support another child. We understand that. And that's why you had the abortion. I get that. However, the faith position is wrong. Do you see? But if we are unable to express the faith position on the issue, just because we don't want to be labeled as insensitive, you suppress the faith. You suppress the faith, one. Next, you make us ineffective as Christian. Three, it stalls any productive conversation that we can have on any issue, especially the sensitive ones. And so you find that Christians that decide to speak on the faith position on a lot of these issues, taking that courageous step to speak the faith position on these issues, are labeled as religious bigots, as insensitive, inhumane people. And so you have people with homosexual tendencies. Let me just describe the whole. And so you have Christians that decide to, or people of faith that decide to take the bold step of actually sharing the faith's position on the issue, being labeled as religious bigots and insensitive, close-minded people, because the culture is, I mean, everybody's getting along with it. Nobody's really condemning it. Nobody's really saying anything against it. So why don't you just go with the bandwagon? Well, unfortunately, that's not what the Christian walk is about. Yes, you could say that, it's a religious position. That's fine. That's okay for you. It's a religious position based on the science that a lot of you believe in, subscribe to. So I don't really think it's just a religious thing. But anyway, so you have the few being labeled as, the bad ones, and then the general ones who with the culture, which does not say anything in contravention to what people feel and what they view as the best lifestyle to live by, being seen as the good guys. And it's unfortunate because I've had a few instances where I've had even conversations with Christians who talk about some very interesting views on subjects like abortion. And somebody can especially say, if I don't want to have that child, I'll throw that thing away. As a Christian, it's these are just the effects of the silence, or at least the scarce voicing out of the faith's position on these issues, which have progressively led to the suppression of faith-based views on sensitive topics like abortion and homosexuality. Foundation is just a conflating of empathy with agreement, where it's almost as if empathy is tantamount to agreement, which it clearly isn't based on their definitions. But unfortunately, the culture has made it seem like that, and we do it subconsciously. So you have Christians who attack other Christians when they share the faith's position on issues like abortion, on homosexuality, on adultery, murder, those kinds of things. No, empathy is not agreement. Empathy is never agreement. Empathy can lead to agreement, but for the majority of the time, the culture and the faith are usually in contravention. And so you find that most of the time, whatever the faith's opinion on an issue is, it is antithetical to what the culture's position on that same issue is.